Hello everyone. On behalf of my co-authors such as Jemima Danyo, Krisha Merrill Icobe, Elmer Villanueva, Nino Jesmar Mecha, and Patrick Cabaitan, I would like to present our findings for this research, Status of Giant Clams in Palawan. Giant clams are the largest living bivalves. The largest species, Tridacna gigas, can reach up to 1.3 meters in shell length, while the smallest, Tridacna crocea, could be about 15 centimeters in shell length. There are 8 species of giant clams in the Philippines, and all of these also occurred within the waters of Palawan. Giant clams provide a wide array of ecological and economic services. Here we can see that the clam serves as important substrate to a wide array of marine organisms. They also serve as food to other species, and they also help increase the complexity of the reef. As a filter feeder, giant clams can help reduce the sediment in the water column, thereby promoting a healthy coral reef environment. In spite of its ecological and economic uses, giant clams were unsustainably harvested, and for that reason, all giant clam species are listed in the Appendix 2 of CITES, which means that they are not threatened with extinction, but they may become if trade is uncontrolled. In the Philippines, all giant clams are considered threatened, which means that harvesting and trade is a crime and is punishable by law. It's been 20 years since some of these laws were enacted, and many conservation actions were done to protect the giant clams. However, there is no updated information about the status of these species in Palawan. And because of that, we determined the percent hard coral cover of the substrate or of the habitat and the species richness and density of giant clams in the province of Palawan. For the methods, we look into the coral cover, species richness, and density of giant clams in 4 study sites such as Taytay, Port Barton, Binduyan, and Rasa Island. However, with the support of other organizations, we were able to visit other areas as indicated by the green circles. With the use of social media and the help of many individuals, we were able to cover a much wider area when it comes to information about the presence of the largest giant clam species, Tridacna gigas. To collect the data, we used phototransect method to determine the percent hard coral cover. We took photos of the substrate along the transect and determined the percent coral cover using CPCE. And then, giant clams found 2.5 meters on both sides of the transects were photographed with a size reference beside it. Here we could see a researcher while doing the phototransect and while taking a picture of giant clam with a measuring rod as size reference. These are the transects and areas covered at each study site. We were able to survey 29 transects in Port Barton and 3 transects in Rojas. In total, we surveyed 57 transects covering 12,375 square meters. In addition, we examined 10 published papers and 23 unpublished reports containing information about giant clams. In terms of results for the coral cover, Port Barton had the highest at 31.5% hard coral cover. This was followed by Rasa Island. The lowest was in Rojas. These values fall within category D or poor coral cover except for Port Barton, which fall within C or fair coral cover. These low coral covers could be attributed to the frequent outbreak of crown of thorns, starfish, and blitzing event. In terms of species richness along the transect, Rojas had the highest number of giant clam species, which was 5. Other sites had 2 or 3 species. The low number of species at each study site is an indication that some species are difficult to find, possibly due to continued harvesting and low recruitment rates. In terms of density, Taytay had the highest at almost 3 individuals per 100 square meters. Rojas comes next at 2 individuals per 100 square meters, and the densities of giant clams in other sites were extremely low. These densities of giant clams are very low compared to densities being reported in well-managed reserves. These densities of giant clams are not related to the health of the reef, considering that Port Barton had the highest hard coral cover and Rojas had the lowest. We also found lesser number of adults than juveniles. This condition could be attributed to the continued harvesting of large individuals. However, the prevalence of juvenile clams at each site is a good indication that settlement is going on for some species. When these sites are effectively managed, the populations of particular giant clam species are expected to recover in the next few years. However, the recovery of other species may take much longer, especially in the absence of breeding populations and poor settlement rates. As for Tridacna gigas, we recorded a total of 19 individuals. 7 and 6 individuals were documented in Tubataha Reefs Natural Park and Rita Island respectively. The clams in Dos Palmas and in Rita Island were induced to spawn with the help of UPMSI and with funding support from the Malampaya Foundation. The juveniles we produced were restocked in priority areas of the Malampaya Foundation Incorporated. Based on published and unpublished papers, including the data from the recent survey, we found a declining trend in the abundance of giant clams in Palawan. Between 1986 and 1993, an average of 13 giant clams per 100 square meters was obtained from 6 studies. Between 2003 and 2013, an average of 2 giant clams per 100 square meters was obtained from 16 studies, and between 2014 and 2020, only an average of 1 individual per 100 square meters was obtained. The declining trend is alarming and requires the need to re-evaluate the current conservation actions to effectively bring back the lost populations of these giant clams. The recent confiscation of hundreds of tons of giant clam shells reflect how abundant the species were in the past, but overharvesting and habitat degradation had caused localized extinction. Considering the recent surge in the illegal trade of giant clam shells, there is a need for everyone to be more vigilant to protect these species from eventual extinction. With that, I would like to thank the DOICP CAARD, the UPMSI, the Western Philippines University, Atelier Aquatic, WWF, the municipalities of Taytay and Nara, Barangays Binduyan and Port Barton, as well as the Malampaya Foundation for the support. Thank you very much.